Watch KSTV weeknights at 7:30 and 11 Eastern, and anytime with Insight on Demand on Channel 103.
Now, as we continue to prepare for UK football season, we've been talking with some of the biggest names in the program's history. And we're now very happy to be joined by Skype by one of the greatest quarterbacks, not just at UK, but in the SEC, UK graduate assistant Andre Woodson. Andre, thank you for taking some time to talk with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We talked with Joker Phillips last week, and he talked about there's an excitement to coming into this season as an underdog. Do you you've been in a position as a player and as a coach where you're in the underdog situation? Is there an excitement to that this season?
Yeah, I believe there is. One of the big things that we have going for us right now is just the fact that we have a lot of this young underclassmen talent. A lot of these guys have been showcasing a lot of ability. We're very encouraged by what we've been seeing so far in the field. And, we're just excited to see what those guys are going to be able to do within the next couple more weeks of training camp and then, let them get loose out on the football field. So we're really excited about what those guys have been bringing to the table as well. A lot of these upper class guys, I think they've matured a lot. They've developed. They've become better players over the offseason. And now they've been showing it. So we're really excited to see what those guys are going to do this season and, really get things going.
Now, your first season when you were starting quarterback, it was a little similar to the situation UK's in now. There weren't a lot of expectations. You came out and won the job, but it ended up being a pretty special season. Did you guys get the feeling in that locker room that even though the media wasn't really buying into it, the fan expectations weren't that high, that you guys could be something special going into that season?
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, I thought the season before our expectations as a team were pretty high. Unfortunately, we lost several players at the first two games of the season, and then the next couple games we lost about 10 or 12 more. So the next season we kind of figured that, if we could just stay healthy and as everyone could just continue to buy into the program and what we were doing, that we would actually do something pretty special. And, and obviously we showcased that and we came away with a really good, exciting season. And right now I kind of feel like, the team's buying into the same thing. The guys last year, they were very disappointed with everything that happened. I think at the same point they were embarrassed and, they just took that and fed into that as, something they could just continue to feed them with just preparing for this season, something that would help them, just work a lot harder, watch more film, kind of, stick together a lot more. I think right now this team's probably more family, probably acting more like a family than they have in the several 3-4 seasons. Right now those guys have been doing everything together. They do functions together. They go out and eat together. They do things that we don't have to tell them. And right now it's been great to watch those guys, how everyone's getting along and how they're working hard and they're competing and they're going out every single day and they're expecting the best out of themselves. And it's encouraging for us as a staff to watch those guys do that because we no longer have to get on them to work hard. Now there's so much talent out there on the football field that no one takes days off and they just, they bust their butts out there to do the best and prepare themselves for every single day of practice. So, that way when the season comes along, they do a great job going on the football field and coming away with wins.
You're working, I don't think a lot of fans know this, but you're working with the offensive line right now. Is that something that comes natural for a former quarterback, telling the offensive linemen what they're doing wrong and their mistakes they're making?
For the most part, you kind of have a sense of where the offensive linemen are supposed to go, but it's a different realm. This is a different realm. I mean, for a quarterback, you kind of have a feel for that, but you're not technique wise. You're really not. You really don't have a great understanding of their details of where they're supposed to truly go when it comes to shoulders, to numbers, their landmarks, their footwork, aiming points. I mean, there's so many things that actually go into being an offensive line coach. And for me, I mean, this is a blessing because I get to work with Coach Summers, who's I feel and I believe is probably the best in the business. For me, at some point I want to be offensive coordinator, and to do that, I have to know everything that goes on the field. And this has been awesome for me to work with him because now I get a different look of what actually goes on down on the offensive line and what's hard for those guys to pick up or what's hard for them to block or different fronts and schemes that they can and can't run into and throw passes against. So, this has been great for me to work with those guys and just get a feel for what they got to go through every single day.
We had Dickie Lyons on the show yesterday, and Dickie was being Dickie, keeping everybody entertained. We talked about some of the big moments you guys had on the field, And then he talked about the team now. He said that he watches and he gets frustrated because in some ways he thinks that the program's taken a step back since you guys played on the field. Obviously, you were there playing with him, and you've been there in practices. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
Well, I think Dickie understands this. I think everyone, has got a little I think they got a little spoiled with what happened with the last 3, 4, 5 seasons with Coach Brooks. And I think a lot of people kind of forgot, the whole point about, how many years it took him to build the program up. And since he's left, now we're starting over again with the new head coach. So, people got to understand that, Joker right now, he's taking over and he has to rebuild the program, and he's getting the guys into this place that he wants here. He wants it ran the way he wants to run. And I think he's been doing an amazing job with bringing in this talent. He's been selling the program. He has a lot of kids believing that they're capable of going out there every single week and winning against no matter who they play against. And, it's exciting to listen to him sometimes, just kind of, get the guys on the right page and help them and make them understand that, this is UK now. We are UK. We're going to go out there every single week and we're going to compete to win. And, I believe, this obviously this season and the next season, I think that we're going to be a really good team. I think, especially with this young talent that we have, I think those guys are going to be the future. I think they're going to do a fabulous job of just continuing to build this program. And some of them are obviously going to be the faces of this program. So, it's very encouraging to see exactly what type of talent we have here, and to really try to picture and get a feel for, where this program could be in the next couple of years.
Now, real quick before we let you go, the quarterback position is again a battle this season. A couple of guys in the mix there. But over the last 2 or 3 years, there seems to be maybe a disconnect between the receivers and the quarterbacks finding that chemistry. As a guy who had great chemistry with a lot of wide receivers, what's the most important part of finding that, whether it's Max Smith, Morgan Newton, whoever, finding that chemistry with the receivers to get that passing game going like Joker wants?
Well, yeah, it's always tough. The biggest thing is for those guys just to work together all the time. Anytime you got away from the coaches or away from meetings, you have to do the best job you can to watch film together, go out there on the practice field and kind of throw together. That way it's just kind of second nature of just kind of having a feel of where they might be, where they're coming out in routes, zone-wise, who your go-to man is, things of that nature. But I think those guys right now have got a pretty good feel for each other. Everyone's right now throwing the ball really well. I think, the receivers have developed into what we thought they would be last season. A lot of those guys didn't really understand that they were going to be the go-to guys, they really weren't prepared for that. But this year, I think those guys are very excited about, everything that we're doing, and I think that they're excited to get out there and showcase that ability September 2nd. So, I think quarterback and receiver-wise, I think those guys are all on the same page, and I think they're ready to go.